doesn't make sense when someone's going to die that they should be ostracized. Of all times, because you're going into something you don't understand. You're going into something that you don't know what's there. Death. And this is the time that we as humans need each other the most. And that's what it comes down to. It's just human beings needing each other.
I think that if we show a percentage of the people a different side to AIDS, not making it, you know, fun or making it okay that this disease is here, but to give a little hope, then I think the whole weekend will have been worth it. I heard somebody say that they were talking about dying with AIDS, and these people are living with AIDS.
Being diagnosed with a fatal disease is a shopaholic's dream. I buy everything on time and credit. Two things I don't have.
Even if they weren't people with AIDS, if they were healthy people, just to say, I think this weekend I'll get up in front of 400 people and be a stand-up comedian, is incredible.
Mom, she was Dutch German, and she spent a lot of time up in the attic hiding from herself.
And for them to say, yeah, this is a good idea, I think I'll do that, this is incredible. And like, well, one of the guys says, what have I got to lose? You know, so, I mean, how could you not be supportive of that? And those who don't understand, I'll pray for you. You know?
You know, you've heard the expression, he who laughs last is the son. You've heard that? Yeah. Well, he who laughs last is usually the last one to get the joke, actually. That's the reason.
Because, you see, what we're having is the last laugh at AIDS. That's the last laugh. It's the victory of the human spirit. Humor.
Like all of us, comic Karen Babbitt has watched the growing AIDS crisis with great concern. Figuring that everyone can help in the fight, Karen found a way to contribute what she does best, stand-up comedy. An idea came to her to put together a 2-day comedy workshop and showcase night for PWAs, people with AIDS, to prove that laughter is the best medicine. Volunteering were PWAs from the Santa Cruz, California AIDS Project, who were challenged by the idea of performing stand-up comedy. Response from the comedy community was enthusiastic. Comedians Steve Bluestein, Blake Clark, Carrie Snow, and others flew in from all over the country to teach the workshop. And knowing that the weekend could be emotionally difficult, AIDS counselors Sally Blumenthal and Robin Roberts led the opening session when the 9 PWAs and 10 comics met for the first time.
I have been raised to use humor as a survival mechanism. My mom was in Auschwitz in the prison camps. And I was never, I mean, it's like you're not allowed to tell people those jokes. That's not funny. And yet that's how my mom made it.
It works. I mean, you talk about what's next, and I think as long as we're laughing, we're okay. We're still here.
People make jokes about things that frighten them. Because then, as human beings, I think it gives us the sense that we can control our environment by joking about it. It's the only way we can control it. Those people couldn't deal with what you people have to deal with every fucking day. They couldn't. And you've risen above it.
There's strength where you don't know that it's there. And that's a pretty powerful experience.
And maybe that's why we do have AIDS, because we're trying to teach the populace to change.
And to laugh where it doesn't feel like, when it doesn't feel like there's anything to laugh about. One thing I know for sure is I know what the title of the weekend is, The Last Laugh. And I can guarantee you this is not going to be my last laugh this weekend. Not at all. Not at all.
With Sunday night's sold-out performance less than 48 hours away, everyone gathered the next morning to put together a brand new act for each of the fledgling comics. Comic Jim Samuels began the workshop.
Well, congratulations. You've chosen stand-up comedy to be the form of expression, which I think if you've talked to the comedians, you know that this is it's a very special way of life. It beats actual work. But with the stand-up comedy, your job all day and all night is just to look for the humor in everything. Here's one way. How many people think that right next to every automatic bank teller machine, there should be an automatic bank teller practice machine for some people? Jeez, I say they get 2 tries, then move them to the Fisher-Price practice machine. That's it. I mean, it's kind of a truism that the best comedy comes from truth, from honesty, from real things. However, as comedians, we are allowed to lie. We can tell outright lies. We can tell stories. We can because we can basically exaggerate the truth. That's where a lot of humor comes from. Of course, every time you start a car, it sounds like the country it came from. It's bizarre. Start a Japanese car. Or a French car. British. Roy. Swedish. He. Italian. Hey. Chrysler. Thank you very much. So we're here, we're looking for humor, and we're going to pair off one by one.
And this brings me to a whole other thing. When there's a will, there's a way. Yeah, and this brings me to a whole other thing. We want to give him a little break, so that's what that little transitional thing. And this brings me to whatever.
Do you want to talk about the weekend at all?
I don't know. Well, first of all, I want to tell you everything I wrote down.
Okay.
Just to get that off my chest.
All right, let me go back to this. But so we got an opening, though. You should relax now.
I'm relaxed.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I figure when you walk out and take your time before you do the microphone thing, you could take like a couple of minutes.
That's 15 minutes right there.
That's 15 minutes just walking out, scan the crowd.
Pull the mirror out, check it out.
Check it out.
Put the condom on the microphone. Now I feel safe.
Yeah.
Should be good.
So you didn't suspect anything at first because 105-degree temperature is normal for a bartender.
Well, actually, I didn't get sick when I was a bartender. Not that that matters, I know. I like what you said earlier about one night I was feeling incredibly anxiety-ridden with 105-degree temperature and decided to go to the emergency room to meditate.
Okay. All that does is go back to the original Afraid Not on page 1. Afraid Not.
You get a call back? Dad, he's got a call back. He opens up his routine with a joke, and the ending is a callback. Where do these guys learn this stuff? I don't have a callback in my act.
Well, you can steal this.
No, I'm not going to steal it.
Then the next was a will. Now we're discussing, one of the fun things about, dealing with the rest.
About dealing with it.
Yeah.
Well, when you ask about why I'm here, the healing aspect of the weekend, as I say, I wasn't quite sure what the concept was and what I was going to be doing until Friday, the morning before we came down. And I was in the hospital, just asking my doctor some questions, getting my pills right, things like that. And I saw a friend of mine who was being carried out on a gurney who had been there to get a transfusion. And I ran up to him. I didn't expect to see him. I ran up, and I started to tell him about the weekend. And it was so wonderful to say, look, this weekend I'm going down, and there are these wonderful people who've arranged for some comedians to be there. These technicians are going to tape it. And I hope, Bobby, that I can tell some jokes that I can bring back for you to make you feel better. And he just smiled. Good evening. It is my hope tonight to teach you a little something about the nature and the essentials of humor. I want you, please, to work with me now. If you will first take a deep breath and then turn your head to the right. Slowly and with a high sound. He. Very good. And then you turn your head in the other direction. And you will exhale again with a full, firm breath. With a lower sound. Ho, ho, ho. And then we continue. Ho, ho, ho. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Very good. As you can tell, I'm an attorney. So at times like this, I had to do my own will. Now that's tough. I was really in a dilemma. What do I charge myself? So I decided I'd charge myself $90. Then I bitched. So I reduced it to 75. I'm a pussycat.
The thing that makes an audience laugh is the fact that you are in control and okay. If an audience feels like you're in trouble, they won't laugh at you because they empathize with the pain that you're going through, so they don't laugh. So you must come on stage and be totally in control. Now, how do you do that? Well, it starts by the very way you stand on the stage. Hi. Oh, God. Look, what a great... What's the matter? I know, I look like Pepe Le Pew, right? Listen, at least you guys are laughing. I was on tour. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Those people were not ready for this hair, you know what I mean? I'm walking through the mall, people are looking at me like...
Hey, Margaret, get my camera. I believe that's a Jew. Hey, Jew boy, you get hit by lightning?
No, you know how the sun bleaches your hair?
Uh-huh.
Partly cloudy. When you talk about comedy, you talk about things that create funny pictures in people's mind, and then you say something about that funny picture, and the juxtaposition of the two is what makes them laugh. With AIDS, the picture isn't funny in their mind. And we're really walking a thin line here. So my apprehension is, what can I give to these guys that's going to make them funny? What I'm going to do is we're going to get areas first that we can work on, okay? Then we're going to overwrite. We're going to write maybe 20 jokes for each area, and then we'll pick out the best ones from each one, and we'll try to structure them in some sort of sentence, some sort of story, you know, where one subject leads to the next subject, which leads to the next subject, and so that you're getting up and you're talking to people saying, all right, this is who I am, this is what I did, this is where I went, this is where I'm going. Of all the television shows that I've done, all the TV shows I've written, I've finally been asked to do something important.
A couple weeks back, I was sitting with a friend. We were watching some stand-up comedy on HBO or something, and anyway, I thought, you know, that's got to be the roughest and one of the toughest jobs, and those have to be some of the gutsiest people. And I just thought if I could do that, that would be like the ultimate challenge for me, and I could do anything else.
I'm originally from Norton, Kansas. Kansas. It's an old Indian word meaning bored. Norton's pretty small, too. Let's see, How small is it? Thank you. Norton is so small that Chinatown is a duplex. Thank you.
It's tough, but we're having a great time. You know, it's like I have to create a whole monologue for someone that, for all intents and purposes, I really don't know. I, on the other hand, used to spend hours playing veterinarian. When I fixed a cat, it stayed fixed. That's not right.
It's tricky. It's constant change and challenge and what's next and all of that. But I think if you keep things in a real positive light, you know, you can't help but make it through. And a person's attitude, I think, is their salvation.
Oh, well. What do you think? You want to go into that, or is that just a gripe?
If we could find some funny way to approach it.
Oh, you mean like a joke? You mean kind of like this, only funny?
Right,
oh.
Exactly. Sort of like this, but funny.
My mother taught me that humor is one of the most basic survival techniques. It goes like food, shelter, clothing, jokes. She went through Auschwitz, and her experience in the prison camp where there were people who emotionally and physically could not sustain the experience because they hadn't had their humor, and those were people who gave up. And she has always embraced her sense of humor, and that's how she maintained herself there.
Here's some real scary news. I have a child. Hey, they let anyone have children. You need a license to drive. But anyone can.
And as a child growing up in Hollywood, had a kind of a rough childhood, was very much a juvenile delinquent. And I'm sure my humor is the reason why I'm still here and why a lot of my peers aren't.
Now, I had natural childbirth. Natural childbirth. Oh! Natural as a spring morning. Come, Bambi, come, birds. Let's have natural childbirth. Natural childbirth. That was the stupidest thing I ever did in my life. God, that was so... They offered me drugs. Good drugs. They said, here are your drugs. They're very good. They have a street value of $1 million. And your insurance will pay for them. And I said, no, I want to feel this. Thank you very much.
Laughter is very healing to me. I think in almost anything you do, you can find some sort of humor. The feelings come up occasionally. Every once in a while, I get afraid. I get scared. When that happens, I reach for laughter. I reach for friends. I reach for the ground. I will sometimes sit on the ground and just hold on to a handful of dirt. And that gives me so much security that I know I'm not going to fall off. And then I get up and I go again from that. And having been diagnosed HIV positive, I've had to deal with many of my fears, like the afterlife. I vision this tunnel. It's a dark tunnel, and there's a light at the end. So I approach the end of the tunnel. I can see this man. He's got long hair, a beard. His hand is reaching out to me. And as I get closer, he says, "Hey, man, you got a quarter?" You know, I feel I can't afford to waste time anymore. I don't even give my dog a bath. I just leave him tied in the back of my pickup truck when I go to the car wash. I do my laundry in the microwave. I rent movies and watch them on fast forward. I think that something I share with a lot of people now is that you live for every day for what it is, and you appreciate it, and you never know. All of us are going to go at some time, and to worry about it is not going to do me any good, and I'm afraid I'll miss something if I do. And so what I do now is I go day for day, and I get every hour I can out of it.
It's all in your attitude, and that's a lot of comedy, is if you come into comedy insecure, well, not really believing that what you have is a funny product, then people sit there and they won't be convinced that you're delivering a funny product. But you can get up and you can say things that are marginal, but if you have absolute confidence.
I have always used humor as a way to sort of rise above difficult situations and stuff, and just sort of take it gives me an opportunity to take a break from the seriousness of whatever's happening, whether it's...
Hey, these evangelists, I tell you, Jim Bakker, Jimmy Swaggart, and all these guys, they give a whole new meaning to the term lay people.
Now I feel like one of the things that my AIDS diagnosis has done for me, it's given me a chance to reevaluate my life, look at some of the things that I've done, and it's motivated me to do some things differently. I feel like I've been a fairly positive person throughout most of my life. I've had positive influences on a lot of people around me, and I can still continue to do that in my life. I'm not sitting around my apartment watching television waiting for, you know, the big blowout here at the end, and there's still a lot of living to be done, and there's still a lot of life that I can enjoy, and kind of the whole thing about AIDS is that it throws our mortality right in our faces. What I have today is a healthy body. I'm still functioning, and that's all that anybody has is today. I thought about doing a skit about a dying thing, and talking about what I would want to see in heaven that I don't really like here on Earth. So when I go to heaven, you know, there's like when you get up to heaven, you know, there's not going to be any panhandlers anymore. There's not going to be, you know, stupid people working at the DMV, you know.
If I were to have one thing that I was going to tell starting comedians, establish who you are on stage first. Material comes later. Material, you can buy material. You can steal material. People do it. Establishing who and what you are on stage. When I first started, I kept the parameters of who I was on stage real small, well, real big, and the parameters of what I talked about real small. So I became known as the Vietnam vet comic, and I didn't want to be known as the Vietnam vet comic because that was going to limit me. So what I did then is I tried to close down the parameters of who I am on stage and open the parameters of what I talk about. Talk about anything. Talk about everything. Talk about anything. And think of yourselves PWAs, not people with AIDS, but people with an act. I was born and raised in Georgia, and I fought in Vietnam. That's kind of like being punished for the same thing twice. In fact, I used to have flashbacks in Vietnam. This is true. This is a true story. I was home right before Christmas, and my brother, he asked me what my oldest son wanted for Christmas. He said, "What did your son want for Christmas?" Now, I swear to God, I'm not making this up. The guy's not the hippest guy in the world, okay? Nice guy, but not hip. So I said, well, I don't know. He likes U2. Why don't you get him a tape by U2? I swear to God, he looked at his wife. Us? No, people have asked me this, does it bother you when people don't think you're funny? I say, yeah, but what bothers me more is when people don't think. I tend to be funnier when I feel very strongly and passionately about something. I tend to be funnier when I'm angry about something. I'd worked out a lot of demons on the comedy stages of America, and it's very healing. Because, like I said in the group thing, once you've reduced something to laughing at it, then you've risen above it, and it can't harm you.
The thing we're going to talk about is technique. And the technique that that I use, and the one that I teach, is that the stand-up doesn't start here. It starts in the wings. Randy, let's try it. Ladies and gentlemen, comedy of Randy Smith. Hi. Lovely crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, comedy of Hayden Curry.
Thank you.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, comedy of Mark Johnson.
Evening, everybody. How you doing?
Okay, it's a little hesitant. A little hesitant. Watch.
Go.
It's good. It's a little hesitant. A little hesitant. A little tentative toward the mic. Take the mic. And don't slow up as you come up. I mean, you want to get there. Make it, this is the destination. You want to get here. So try it again. Ladies and gentlemen, where you going? Ladies and gentlemen, comedy of Mark Johnson.
Evening, everybody. How you doing tonight?
Perfect. All right. So now you're up here and you've got the mic adjusted and you start to talk. Think of a stand-up monologue as a play in one act, with a beginning, middle, and end.
I sometimes forget where I am when I'm driving. I called my mom and I spilled my guts to her, told her that I was suffering from dementia. She said, "Who's this?" My family is very supportive, though. My Aunt Bertha came by to visit the other day, and during her usual tour of my refrigerator, she found this tiny little bottle of mayonnaise. And Bertha knows that everything in my house is Price Club size. And she looked puzzled. I said, "Bertha, I'm not willing to invest in quarts anymore. I don't even buy green bananas." Let's face it, if I could, I'd buy calendars 1 month at a time.
Think of it as a conversation. And in a conversation, we don't always just walk up and somebody go, "How you doing? I'm going to see what's your name." You don't. You stop, you talk, you think, you fumble, you lumber, you don't say, well. And so that's exactly what a conversation is. You want to give the illusion of conversation.
I just recently bought a $5 million house. $10,000 down, a variable interest loan, $175 a month, with a balloon payment of $4,994,000 at the end of 3 years. Hey, what do I care? What are they going to do? Ruin my credit? Drain my pool? Give me a fatal disease?
To an unknown comedian like at the Comedy Store, you have to prove yourself, okay? You guys are already stars. These people on this show tonight are coming to see you.
I think optimism is what life is all about. I mean, even before I heard that there are some scientific reasons, scientific evidence that suggests that laughter is good for certain things, particularly with those of us that have AIDS, I've always felt that it was. I mean, a good laugh sort of cleans your system and makes you feel emotionally so much better. But you know, there's the one thing that they didn't, that the researchers who found out that that laughter is beneficial to your health, what they didn't tell you is, what if you come up here on stage and bomb? I mean, what if you look, you know, I've never done this before. I've never done stand-up comedy. And I come up here, and what if I die right here, right on the stage? I mean, what's that going to do to my immune system? They do. I noticed as I came in, there are 3 stretchers at the ready just off stage here. And they're for my family, actually. And I think what Last Laugh's purposes, and that's what I personally accept or identify with, is that people with AIDS are people. We'll just start right there, stop right there. They are people, and they're alive, and they have a lot of concerns. And if laughing about the conditions that you're having to put up with because of this disease is helpful to you and to others to get a perspective on I suppose any kind of serious disease, but this one in particular, then we're all better off.
Let me tell you about myself. I've always thought of myself as a cross between Mel Gibson and Truman Capote. The mind of Mel Gibson and the body of Truman Capote. Sort of a road warrior with pumps.
It's a killer. It's a killer. It's a killer.
You like that? Pause for laugh. Okay.
And I'm just happy to be here to contribute whatever I can.
And for me, it's an opportunity that comedians don't necessarily get. It's kind of like being able to make a chair, make a table, and actually see the work in front of you. With comedy, it's an ongoing process. There's no beginning, there's no middle, there's end. You're constantly fine-tuning this, fine-tuning that. With this, it gives us an opportunity to take somebody who's never done it before and actually build an act for them.
But I'm glad to see McDonald's has finally responded to the AIDS crisis. They've come up with a new meal just for people with AIDS. It's called the Happy to Be Alive meal.
Comedy is always on the cutting edge. You're always going maybe a little bit too far.
You get a burger, you get fries, you get a medium Coke, and a McCondom.
For comedy, you're pointing out the things in society that are bad, and you're saying, hey, look at this, pay attention to this. With these people, there's a built-in thing that we're talking about. There's something that says, hey, I'm a person too. I've got this point of view. I've got this frame of reference.
Speaking of transfusions, have you heard the term gay blood? Now, what do they mean by gay blood? I mean, is it lavender instead of red? Does it swish instead of flow? Does it have decorator chromosomes? I mean, what is gay blood? I was at the dermatologist, and she said, hey, you know, Joe, you've got a great tan, but are you using sunscreens? I mean, are you protected against skin cancer? Skin cancer? Skin cancer? At least there'd be something they know how to treat. I'd love to live long enough to get skin cancer.
2 years ago, I was diagnosed with pneumocystis, and on the 1st of October of 1986. And the 1st of October of this year was an incredibly powerful day for me because it was that anniversary, which was an anniversary not of having had a dread disease for 2 years, but a day of celebration because it was the beginning of the third year of my life after a diagnosis, and that just meant the world to me. I composed this letter that I sent to all of my family and all of my friends that asked them to think of me on that day and to have me in their thoughts, and also to send me healing energy. And I asked them to think about, to do what I've done for the last 2 years of my life, which is to be really, really aware each and every day of all those things that I had to be grateful for, and all the things that I knew that they had to be grateful for too. And it was such a powerful day. People called and sent flowers and sent letters. Wrote stories and wrote poems, and it was everything that a celebration is, and the best of a celebration.
Right. And a lot of times it's 3. I don't know why. It's 1, 2, and 3.
I like to do topical stuff. And the thing with topical stuff is if it's on people's mind, you can get away with it, and it doesn't have to be particularly brilliant. If you think people are thinking about the whales and the ice, if you come up and somehow open with a reference to that, people will give you that recognition, and you'll see that wasn't even funny, you know. But the thing is, they're relating that to you. I think that George Bush is very homophobic. You know what I mean by homophobia? The irrational fear that 3 fags will break into his house and dye his wife's hair. So, you know, this whole subject of AIDS, I was interviewed this morning by KCBS, and they said, well, aren't people going to be offended just by the physical presence of people who have AIDS? And like, well, yes and no, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to humanize it. So even if there's something that's going to be particularly shocking to some people because they've never been exposed to this, you are demystifying it. You are humanizing it. You know, this is you presenting your case. It's not someone else putting you down. You know, it's not cheap shots. It's, again, who you are, which is what everyone comes back to. You know, part of my comedy is I use my gay perspective because I'm gay myself, and so I feel that gives me, you know, more of an insight, perhaps, even though I don't think that AIDS is, you know, a gay disease per se. But gay men are in the high-risk group. And so I just thought that because I've had friends who've died and know a lot of people who are ill, and I'm worried about myself and my lover, that there was probably an insight and a sensitivity there that could be helpful, that could complement the whole process.
Or, I told them I don't look good in gray.
That's funny. I told them we should have had blue uniforms. We look bad in gray. Gray clashes with butternut. I told them we should be
butternut.
But no.
With butternut. Butternut is a funny word. What I do is what I like, what makes me laugh. And I cannot go home and sit at home and go, boy, this is going to kill. They're going to really laugh at that. I only do what I think is funny. I enjoy watching people who do my kind of stuff, or those were my heroes. And so I think if you do what you think is funny, what you enjoy, what makes you laugh, and not worry about the audience.
It's tough stuff up here. It's very difficult. I wasn't always a comedian. I was actually I was a dancer by trade. Is what I used to do for a living. You can probably tell by just really designed for it. But I had to give it up. The music would just throw me off completely. I just gee, I came back here to the United States. I drove a bus for 1 day, really, is all I could take it. I don't know about you, but I cannot stand people sitting behind me when I'm driving. It just, please. Anyway, I was a psychiatrist for a while. About 6 weeks, but I cannot keep a secret at all, and I can't. No.
I think it's saved my life. Laughter, to me, has been life-saving. I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't up on stage entertaining, telling jokes. I can't hold a job. I've tried, and it just doesn't work for me. I'm not one of those types of people. I work better when I'm making others laugh on stage, entertaining them, hopefully making them laugh, entertaining them if I'm not making them laugh.
Whatever energy I have, if I'm feeling nervous or upset, I'll use that instead of just like having a breakdown. I'll go up there and use the nervous energy or in my act, and it makes the act better. Is the mic on? I'm babbling.
I can't even tell you what everyone's been through this weekend. It was more fun than a girl should be allowed to have with her clothes on, all right? And we learned so much from everybody, and for the comics to even spend time with each other, because we're always out working on the road, it was great. And when Karen first approached me months ago and called me up and said, we're going to teach AIDS patients how to do comedy in a week, and I go, sure, babe, call me. I'll be there. And they told me there'd be food, so I showed up, and I'm here. And we had such a great time. And I think that it's my responsibility, though, as a performer, to discuss safe sex. Now, unless you've been with your partner for 10 years, which sounds boring, if not impossible, my parents have been married for almost 42 years, and I can't commit to a movie. But frightening. It is. And you have to have safe sex. Now, that means that men and women must purchase, carry, and use condoms. Now, it's not fun for anybody. Now the guys have to keep them in their wallets for another 3 years. And it makes that silly little circle. Anyway.
You have to be touched, I mean, or else you're a hermit. But to see grassroots, to be put in touch with your own mortality on a day-to-day basis is very intimidating. And I talked to Jim, and I asked him, I said, is there a day that you don't think about it? And he said, no. And he said the first thing he does when he gets up in the morning is look at himself in the mirror and say, God, you look good today. And live for today. Okay, then why don't we write a song now?
About my tool belt?
Yeah. I'm a big strapping guy in a tool belt. Okay. You know, I don't burst into song. I don't know why I should force you to.
Well, I'm hoping that this whole project can communicate, you know, when people can see it, can communicate to people who have just been diagnosed or are having trouble with dealing with AIDS. I hope it can get across to them that from this moment on, it's really up to you. And I don't know how much longer my life will be because of my attitude, but I know that the way I live my life will be much happier during that remaining time, and I think that's the most important thing.
It is such a pleasure right now to introduce the guy that I can't say I really helped him because I think he did more for me. He had all these ideas. He called me on the phone when I was working in Las Vegas and woke me up from a nap, and so I've been torturing him for 3 days. And this guy, he learned the hard way that I'm a very easy laugh, and we had to try a lot of stuff, but we had a great time, and you're going to enjoy him a lot. Let's have a nice hand right now for Jim Schultz. Come on.
Actually, Carrie has a theory that if you ingest enough cholesterol into your system that you can actually kill the AIDS virus. If that's true, I'm healed. The day I tested positive, I quit cocaine. I quit alcohol. I quit paying my income taxes. Four years later, I'm in perfect health, and the IRS is pissed.
But the fact that they're so touched by us, and it's like such a mutual thing that I know you couldn't trade that, you know. And I'm putting names in my book, and I'll, you know, and I'll write to Jim and everything. I've lost friends, but then I've never taken any names out of my book. I put a heart by my friend John's name, because, I mean, you can't take somebody's name out of your book. It's not right. And it's nice every time I look into the F's, I get to see his name again.
Now we need, what, some sort of humorous symptom. Lord.
Well, I was just thinking, like, when my grand-mamas became petite dégagées, but if people don't know ballet terminology, it's gonna not gonna. But the words are kind of funny if people don't know them.
Try it. Write it down. Let's see.
What's wrong?
It
became petite dégagées. So grand-mamas is a high kick, and a dégagé is barely off the floor.
Oh, I see.
And I could sort of demonstrate as I say it, maybe.
Yeah, oh, very definitely.
If I hang on to the mic and have support.
Well, laughter is something that used to be a much more active part of my life. And it's not necessarily because of AIDS. I think it has to do with my career choice, which didn't really develop in the way I imagined it would. And it's just sort of that, you know, I was a very sensitive little kid, and I read books, and I really cried a lot. and laughed a lot, and I liked making people laugh. And somewhere along the way, you know, I discovered that, you know, boys don't cry, and I don't know, so the crying stopped and the laughter stopped too. And now it's been really good this weekend because I found I have laughed a lot.
Hi, I'm Eric Larson. I am a former dancer moderne from Nouveau de York. I was one of the few white boys at the Alvin Ailey American Dance Center who got kicked out for not being able to play basketball. Well, I guess you know I'm a PWA. That's perfectly well adjusted. Thank you very much. Well, you know, my body hasn't changed that much since I've been through all of this. I still have a pretty good tush. It just faces the other way now. And, you know, it's very easy to get people to do whatever you want when you're really sick. Hi, Charlie. Well, I'm a little tired tonight. Are you gonna come over? Could you bring some dinner? Well, you know, I've been kind of hungry for French food from Paris. And Charlie, could you make sure it's hot this time?
I got more out of this than I ever thought, you know, besides the food. I got more out of this than I ever thought I would ever get.
Dang. Well, I was really proud of Tony because he overcame so much fear, and he got laughs.
I'm not done yet. I know they're probably thinking, quick, get him out of here before there's casualties. People ask me if I mind talking about my my condition. You know, and no, I'm nearsighted in the right eye and a little astigmatism in the left. But the funniest thing about my diagnosis, I guess, or, you know, I gave this some thought, was it had to be the meds. Now, I had to have this especially typed out here and follow along if you can. Let's get a good breath. I'm on AZT for AIDS. I'm on acyclovir for the AZT for AIDS. I'm on the Donatol for the nausea from the acyclovir for the AZT for AIDS. I'm on the Ritalin for the drowsiness from the Donatol for the nausea from the acyclovir for the AZT for AIDS. I'm on Halcion for sleep because I'm wired from the Ritalin for the drowsiness from the Donatol for the nausea from AZT for AIDS. 4 calling birds, 3 hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. Thanks a lot, you guys. You've been great.
When you think about the first time we all started, maybe we wouldn't have done it. But I saw these guys, if it didn't work, they just kept trucking.
Yeah.
You know, it's called chutzpah, and in the Midwest, it's called balls. And I really, really felt proud.
It's amazing. In baseball, you know, if a man has a 300 batting average, this guy is considered a star. Now, what does that mean? That means that 30% of the time, this guy is doing his job. And they're getting paid millions of dollars. It's like Congress. Maybe that's why they got the president throwing out the first ball of the season.
And even though there were periods where there were silences and some jokes didn't work, they just went all the way through it.
The self-doubt isn't there, you know.
I mean, they want to do it, and they feel like they have something to say.
Now, one of the things that makes me really angry is picking up the paper and seeing some journalists use the term AIDS victim. I don't know any AIDS victims. I'm not a victim. Yeah. Now, I'm an AIDS victor. We're all AIDS victors.
That's what I have learned from this. I mean, I've known people that died of AIDS, just like every one of you have, but I never was around people with the disease and know what they have to go through every day, and just the pain and the hurt and the beepers and the inconvenience of it. I mean, when have you had a headache or a sprained ankle and you just go, God damn, this is an inconvenience? You know, and the anger and the resentment and everything else that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And what it comes down to is this is such a human thing. This is human.
Right.
It's a human thing I've learned this week. No, it's human.
Yeah.
It's such a. I just think it was a great idea.
I cannot figure out what it must be like to try. I cannot rationalize death in my mind, or dying, or what it must be like to. In my mind, I just can't figure it out, and I don't think they can either. But just to know it's, you know, one of the goals in my life is to deny it for as long as possible, and it makes it tough to. When you see these guys that have had to face that reality, that it's imminent, and maybe it's not imminent. I mean, hopefully it's not, but so it's tough. I admire them. It's unbelievable. They've taught me a lot. Just their strength, how they can do it. I mean, I could not get up on stage and do it. And another thing I found that was interesting also was a couple of them said their lives. They finally got their lives together when they were diagnosed, and it's the happiest they've ever been, and that's hard for me to. I mean,
there's a Chinese saying that Ian Fleming pulled to use as one of the names of one of the James Bond books. You only live twice: once when you're born, and once when you look death in the face.
I have concerns about the afterlife. I mean, what's it going to be for me? Do beds come in California King? Or do clouds only come in twin? I have problems getting clothes. My pants, 3240. I have to order them. I wonder if Spiegel has a clairvoyant catalog. Dial 1-800-DEAD. Does UPS deliver? Who's going to bring it? Shirley MacLaine?
I don't know who's going to end up with the most. I don't know. I think it's going to be a toss-up to who had the best time.
Really?
You know what the funniest part is? I'm going to go ahead and say it. We didn't know it would work. We had absolutely no idea that this would work. I had no idea, because look how long it took us to learn to do jokes and get up on our feet and all that. And can you teach somebody? Can you do it? And you can. You really can.
Well, anyway, this has really been a great week for me, a weekend, and I've learned a lot, and I've learned a lot about caring, about human kindness, human will, human triumph, the spirit, the human spirit, and I've learned a lot about comedy, too, from these guys and from my peers. And I'd like to introduce to you the first person with an act. He comes from Connecticut originally, but he'll tell you all about that. He's a big sports fan. Please welcome Mark Johnson.
We had a great time, and you're going to enjoy him a lot. Let's have a nice hand right now for Jim Schultz. Come on.
He's a wonderful guy. I know you'll love him. Please welcome Tony Shearer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together
For Aaron Wesley Miller.
Please welcome my good friend, Joe Nieberding.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Gene Marr.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, Mr. Hayden Curry.
I'd like to present for you the magnificent, the gorgeous, fabulous Randy Smith.
Mr. Eric Larson.